Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the CPMC podcast. I am MC, and for the first time ever, I'm not joined by CP, but rather a member of this league himself. We got Joe Bear with the official Bear hat on right now. What's
That's
up,
right.
Joe?
What's going on, Maddie? It's good to talk to you. It's good to be on the podcast. I expect royalties after this is done, so we'll talk about that and negotiate that afterwards.
You're going to get 90% of all the income. What's 90% of zero, Joe?
I haven't been to a classroom in a long time. I think I know the answer to that.
It's a big fat zero. Wow. What do we got here, Joe? It's the Stoneham Legends League. Is that what it is?
Oh yeah, these guys are all legends, all of them.
Now, me and my other co-owner, we took a look at this league last year, if I remember correctly, right?
That is, it was it. Yeah, I think it was last year. Yeah,
It might have been last year. I can't remember. Good league, always quality players here. Is it a keeper league, Joe, or are we doing completely redraft new guys every
no,
year?
no keeper. Some people want it, but we haven't. I don't think it passed any votes or anything like that. We always put stuff to votes, and that has not passed yet.
Yeah, I would say either do a full-on dynasty where you're keeping everybody or just a regular redraft. You don't need to be bothering with the keep one, keep two. I don't really like that format.
Dynasty sounds interesting. I know you get about 40 to those leagues.
Bumped it up to 49 this year, Joe. Hoping to add number
Is
50 by the time the season starts tomorrow night.
is that a real answer? 49?
Yeah, I mean, I could scroll through if you want me to, but I won't bore the listeners. But that's a dead on number for my leagues this year.
Good Lord.
It is out of control. I went through them today, just trying to set some lineups, get ready for tomorrow, and I was like tuckered out by like the 13th league, and I'm like, how am I going to do this all year long?
It's like a full-time job.
It
Good
is. It
Lord.
pays about 1% of what most normal people get for their full time job. But listen, we do it for the kids. That's it.
Hey, that's it for anything for these kids. God
All
damn.
all right, Joe, let's take a look at this league. Here's what we're going to do for you guys tonight. We're going to go through each team one by one, take a look at starting lineups and notable depth pieces as well. And then we're going to label you a contender or pretender this year. And in redrafts, you should all be contenders, right? Because it's such a kind of limited format, but that's what the professionals are here for, to look at this with a fine tooth comb.
That's
And
right.
we're going to be able to tell you whether you're a legit contender or pretender. I know, listen, Chat GPT here, that artificial intelligence gave you your draft grades. If experience has told me one thing, is that Chat GPT is wonderful for a lot of things, not ranking drafts, though. I'll tell you that
Uh-oh.
much. Yeah, we did one a couple weeks ago that I thought it was horrible. I thought they missed the boat by a lot. There's no substitute for just a good old human brain. So, Chris, oh boy, I'm gonna do that a number of times. Joe, let's start with your team here, the Charcuterie Board. Love the team name here.
What a great name. I mean,
Uh, Chat GPT liked you, gave you an A+ for your draft here. I was looking through. I don't love it, but I love your top end talent here. We got Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Brees Hall, James Cook, George Kittle, Jamal Williams, and Kadarius Toney. Back ends, we got Jonathan Taylor. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. I got Rashad Penny as well, Kendre Miller, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark. We don't talk about defense and kickers on this show, Chris. It is sacrilegious. Chris, geez, Joe, I've got you at, it's going to happen every time.
I'm just gonna change my name to Chris
Change
for
your
the
name
next,
to Chris.
yeah, for the podcast. I'm
Uh,
fine with that.
listen, I can't undo the last like 400 shows I've done with
Hey,
Chris, and now got to switch it
I
to
don't
Joe.
blame you. I don't blame
Here's what I love, Joe. I love Allen. I love Jefferson. I love Waddle. I think that's as good a top three. I love that you hammered wide receiver early. I think that's going to pay off in a lot of redraft leagues this year. A lot of uncertainty at the running back position. I
you. Oh
think you're a
yeah.
little weak on the back end. Jamal Williams, Kadarius Toney. As much as I do like Jamal Williams and think he's going to be a factor, even with Kamara there, I don't love the back end. But man, this top end talent is second to none.
Yeah, I mean, when I was drafting, those were the easy decisions. After that, it kind of went off the rails there. But what are you gonna do? You know, you make the best you can with what you got.
Do you remember when you got Jonathan Taylor?
Mm, I would say like sixth round or something. I'm not exactly sure.
All right, so we
Oh, here
got
we
you right
go.
here as the seventh round, Joe.
That's it.
Were you planning on taking him at some type of value in this, given his weird situation? Or
No,
did you just happen to look at seventh round and say, wow, he's still there? Got to take him.
that wasn't planned at all. I have no, like, I don't even know what he's doing. I know he can't play for 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, like, he may not play it down, right? Like, who knows?
Well, that's the big thing. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on, but the big story is that he's out for the 4 weeks minimum. I think he'll be fine once he comes back. But man, I've done a couple of redrafts and I'm not letting him pass the fifth round. So for you to get him in the seventh, I think is wild.
Oh, I didn't even realize that you were giving me props on that. I figured you'd be, talking smack about that, but
No, I'm a big Jonathan Taylor guy. I think all this stuff that's going on is just stinks and it's unfortunate, just the entire running back position. I
yeah.
still think he's got plenty of life left in him. So I think seventh round is an absolute steal. Yeah, very well done. Helps you had the first overall pick here and go Justin Jefferson. Was he a lock
That,
for you, or were you
that,
thinking
that,
Christian McCaffrey?
that was auto picked actually. I couldn't sign in and then it just happened and I was like, whatever, let's go with it.
No wonder Chat GPT liked your draft so much they drafted half your team for you.
It was just that pick, and that's probably where I was going anyway. So,
All right, so that's good. You didn't get screwed by being late to the party. So you wanted Jefferson to start with when you saw you had the 101?
I mean, I was fine with any of those top three guys, to be honest. Like McCaffrey is a freak, but he's never healthy. Jamar, if he stayed healthy last year, he would have probably had better numbers than Jefferson. So I don't know. Any of those three I was fine with. After
Yeah.
that, I don't know if I loved anybody at the first overall pick after that, though. Those three,
No, I think there's a tier three, or sorry, yeah, 3-person tier at the top there, and then it kind of drops off a little bit. I think that 4 through like 7 is kind of a tough spot to be in because you got to reach on maybe a cup, although his injury news is hurt and all that. It seems like kind of reach. I love Eckler at 4, which is where he's going in a lot of spots. So, Joe, obviously you're going to be a little biased with this one. Would you say that you are a contender or a pretender this year?
I mean, you just said that the computer that generates the grades doesn't know what it's talking about, but I am a firm believer of those grades. So I'm going with contender, and I like the projected record that it has me at 13-1. I think I'm going to stick with that as well.
I like that. But what's interesting here is if you played any other team in week 1, you're projected to lose. I mean, you're projected to be death by rice pilaf, and I'm the bye week now, and Diggs in a blanket, and your actual opponent just in time for whatever that is, back to back.
Back to
So
back.
I think the schedule has done you a lot of favors, it seems like, because you're a dog against 3/4 of the league this week.
Oh,
Um,
hey, it's all about who you playing that week, right?
exactly. So we'll take a look at that schedule, and boy, that thing's fortuitous for you. All right, Chris, let's look at the next team here. We're just going to go in the order here. We got Diggs in a blanket here. Let's take a look at this squad. He got a C plus for a draft grade from Chat GPT. We got Lawrence, Diggs, Amari, Derrick Henry, Javante Williams, Fryermuth, DK Metcalf, and Hollywood Brown. Man, I kind of like this team. I think there's a good bit of value. Guys that, in my opinion, are undervalued. DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown, all going pretty low. Amari Cooper still being slept on per usual. Doesn't look like there's a lot of top end talent here, Joe, which is probably what ChatGPT didn't like. The bench is not great other than Kirk Cousins. I'll throw you, a Brandon Cooks and a Damian Harris, but I have a feeling that's what knocked this grade down was the lack of top end talent.
I don't know what pick this team had, but I like Trevor Lawrence. I think Diggs is obviously one of the top guys. Who's the second one? Scroll back down. What do you do?
Hold on, I'm looking at the draft results here so we can get a good look at it.
Okay.
This was
Oh,
Diggs
they
in
12.
a blanket. They chose in the yeah, so they were at the 12-13 turn here. So Diggs and Henry to start. Amari Cooper in the third.
I mean, wasn't his numbers pretty good last year. I feel like
They,
his numbers were
they
pretty
were
good.
serviceable. He's a guy that you're able to get decent value on him. I think I like him more towards the end of the fourth, middle of the fifth. You can get Amari Cooper for, but I think he did well to get DK early in the fourth here. Um, But man, reaching on Pat Fryermuth in the seventh. I mean, if you're going to get that, you might as well not even draft one and just stream the Juwan Johnsons and the Herb Smiths of the world.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that pick there either. I don't know if there was like a run on tight ends. He got nervous. Um, but yeah, I don't remember. He was a rookie last year, right?
He's either second or third year in the league this year. Yeah.
So his numbers weren't anything crazy last year, I don't think, right?
No, they were fine. I mean, he's serviceable, but I mean, my opinion always on the tight end landscape is you either have Travis Kelsey
Or
or
you
you,
do.
or you don't, right? It's
Yep.
really that simple. If you're nibbling on a Mark Andrews or a TJ Hawkinson, then you live with it. But man, anything after that, I am waiting until the last round, and I'm just going to stream Tyler Higbee, Jawan Johnson, guys like that all day long. I mean, I just can't see myself ever drafting if Pat Fryermuth.
Well, hey, I played tight end in high school, so I have a soft spot for all these tight ends. So I'll take a tight end.
Let's
I love that Kelsey was going so high until his injury today. That was
I
amazing.
know. Listen, I'll go on a tangent for days about this. Stop letting your star players participate in preseason anything.
I
Just
know.
let them sit in the medical tent for the
Honestly.
entire offseason. Put him in bubble wrap, roll him out on Thursday night. He'll be no worse for the wear. Now he's got a hyperextended knee. I mean, there's no person I'm relying on in my 49 leagues than Travis Kelsey. So this was a dagger today.
Yeah, it's not good for whoever has him.
Yeah, we'll get to that team in a little bit. Joe, I'm gonna go pretender here with this team. I'm leaning towards the bottom. I do like the value that he did get on guys like Hollywood and DK Metcalf. Javante Williams, I'm actually higher on than most fantasy sites and most fantasy guys, but I'm
He's
just
coming off
looking at
the ACL, right? Or
yeah, he is, and a lot of love going out to Samaje Perine, his backup or could be his co-lead this year. I'm gonna go pretender with this team, Joe.
I don't think I know who it is, and that would make me biased on this, which I'm glad I don't know.
Let me scroll up, get a look at a name here.
I don't. Oh,
Mark with the C.
okay. I mean, I don't mind it, but that's not a good thing with my fantasy history. So I actually do kind of like this team, but I'm gonna say contender. I
Contender. All right, that's fair. Listen, it's always good to disagree. It's good for the ratings. It's
Yeah,
good for the back
yeah.
and forth. So you got Diggs in a blanket as a contender. Let's move on. Let's see what we got. Jeffy likes redemption. Chat GPT gave him a D plus. Let's let the experts look at it here. We got Herbert, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, David Montgomery, Dalvin Cook, David Njoku, Calvin Ridley, and Deontay Johnson. Guys on the bench, we've got Higbee on the bench, Devin Singletary, Zeke Elliott. Yeah, I'm with Chat GPT on this one. This is a D plus for me. I mean, outside of this wide receiver room and the quarterback room, there's just a lot to not really love. I mean, I do like Ridley, but oh man, this running back situation. I mean, he's got two RB2s on their own team. These guys are at best in timeshares,
Yeah.
and usually on the weaker end of the timeshare. So I'm going pretender here for this team. I am going to look at the draft in just a little bit to see where we reached a little bit or what we were thinking.
I think his issue was he drafted four wide receivers in a row without knowing it until somebody mentioned it to him, and he was like, "Oh shit, I didn't even realize that." So I think that has a little bit to do with the result of his team. He didn't know that he had four wide receivers in a row. Where
Yeah. Oh, there he is right in the middle there. AJ Brown, which is, I think, fine value at 8. I do like AJ Brown,
yeah,
Devontae Adams. You've got two target monsters right there. Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson. But why David Montgomery there? I'm going to look at the overall board. Why David Montgomery in the fifth? I mean, I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor in the fifth than David Montgomery. Who did he pass up on here? Where he goes, David Montgomery. I mean, I'd rather Javante Williams. I'd rather Rashad White. I'd rather Miles Sanders by a ton. I'd rather Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather Pacheco. I mean, David Montgomery was reached by about 5 rounds, I would say, Joe.
I mean, I don't. So Gibbs is the starter in Detroit for sure.
I I think they're going to share, but I think Gibbs is going to have that big playability. I think he's going to get the receiving work,
Yeah,
where David Montgomery's just going to be plodding along. And I think they're going to throw the ball a ton, right? I think they're going to let Jared Goff loose. They brought in the tight end in Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown's been lights out. I think they're going to throw the ball quite a bit, especially when Jameson Williams comes back. If he does, I thought he heard he went to rehab or something
oh
disastrous.
God.
But I just don't like David Montgomery. I've never been a huge fan of him. They, spent a lot of draft capital on Gibbs. I think it's going to be the Gibbs show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him. Where was he before Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago, but he was struggling to beat out Khalil Herbert and a bunch
Yeah,
of like Travis Ebner, a special teams guy in the Patriots a few years ago. I mean, I just don't think he's that great.
yeah. Well, we'll see how Gibbs plays out, but I think what was he, 12th overall pick?
Yeah, so it was that or in the early teens.
Yeah, and I don't think you do that unless you plan on giving the ball, giving the kid the rock. So
So what do you think for this team? You got contender or pretender? I'm pretty staunchly defending pretender here.
I will I will say the same just because I don't know if he knew exactly where he was when he was drafting. But I mean the drafter, I don't think he knew where he was.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem. So so I'm gonna go with contender as well.
And then man, Dalvin Cook is your RB2. Yikes. Where to be? I mean, I think D plus might be a generous grade. I think he got a benefit of the curve there on that one, Joe. Uh
Jeffy's redemption year might have to wait till next year.
2024 is his year. Mark it down now. All right, moving on. We got the big swinging dicker here. We got Mark with a K. He was given a D plus by Chat GPT. We've got Jalen Hurts, Ty Hill, Christian Watson, Alexander Madison, Antonio Gibson, Mark Andrews, Christian Kirk, Zach Charbonnet. Here's P. Ryan, Anthony Richardson, Michael Gallup, Juwan Johnson, and Gerald Everett. Joe, he's got 3 tight ends
Oh
on this
God.
team. What does man, I'm trying to be nice, Joe, but this if we see worse than this team, it's bad. This
It's
team is not good. Um, Outside of Hertz and Ty Hill, I don't want any of these guys.
so I don't mind Watson based off of last year's production, but he had Aaron Rodgers on the team. So I think that hurts him. Madison, I think the idea is that he's just gonna slide into what Dalvin Cook was doing there, but I don't know if that's gonna be true. Gibson isn't what number running back?
No one knows what's going out there with the Redskins. Brian Robinson was the guy last year. Antonio Gibson was starting to get phased out. Now they're talking about giving Gibson some run in the slot or possibly a lot of passes, which he was a receiving back in college. I don't know what to expect there. I mean, I don't want to be starting him ever, and he is depending on him very heavily here
Yeah,
to be an everyday starter. And I think when things go south there, this team hits rock bottom.
yeah. I would, yeah.
I mean, I
Just,
think you
just
make a good point about Alexander Madison, and I do like him. But a lot of people are saying they're going to kind of scale. Last year when Cook would get injured, Madison would go in, he would get that workload. But listen, that's
yeah,
1, 2, 3 weeks at a clip. This isn't a
exactly
17 game season.
right.
All right, let's look at this team, Joe. We've got who was this team?
Big swinging.
Big swinging dicker here. So he goes Hill and Hurts. I like that start. Hill at 4 is an interesting play. Hurts, I love the upside here in the second round. I usually don't reach for the quarterbacks that early, but man, this draft was lost in the third round when he goes with Mark Andrews. Um, I mean, just look at the other options. Right, he could have gone Travis Etienne,
Yeah,
right there in the third, which I think would have been fine. Najee Harris at 33. I mean, he's going to get, say what you want about him. I think he's going to get plenty of work. But man, Mark Andrews, that's just not. That's bad.
well,
Let's see what Jeff.
obviously he respects the tight ends because he got 3 of them on his
I
roster,
know.
which makes me want to respect his team, but I can't respect this team because I'm not loving it.
I mean, I mean, Juwan Johnson would be more than serviceable on this team. Then you bring in Gerald Everett. I think that's fine. So if he'd gone anywhere other than tight end in the third round, I think we're looking at this team much prettier, right? I mean, imagine if we throw Travis Etienne in at running back instead of Antonio Gibson, and we put Juwan Johnson in at tight end. I think we're looking at this team much better than we're looking at it right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, it's got to be a pretender for me. I mean, are you seeing something that I'm not seeing with this team?
No, I'm right there with you. I hope he runs triple tights though at some point this season and
Listen,
starts
you've got
all three.
two flex spots right there.
Yeah,
I do like Christian Kirk. A lot of people are hating on him because of Ridley coming in, which is understandable. But I still think Kirk is going to get him his. They're going to run out of the. He'll be running out of the slot quite a bit. Love that. But man, Antonio Gibson and Zach Charbonnet should never be in a starting lineup in a league that
well,
plays this thin.
the Charbonnet kid, he's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
And kid Walker's obviously starting above him, right?
Yeah, Walker's a little bit banged up, but I guess he's going to be good to go for the season. That's a running back situation that I am staying away from. I have 0 shares of both players,
Yeah.
and I'd like to keep it that way. All right, let's move on. We've got just in time for back to back. Did this guy win it last year?
That he did,
What's his name?
Dave.
Oh,
Well,
it has
his
him as
last
Have.
name his name's Dave Harrington, but he goes by Have Darrington because a friend of ours did a skit in the class pretending to be Dave, but he had to.
Called himself Have.
Yeah, it was good.
I
Maybe I
like
should just
that.
reenact the skit. I don't even exactly remember what it was about,
Was his
but
high
it was
school?
gold. Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was great.
All right, let's see what Chat GPT gave him a D. Yikes. Not friendly to this league here, Joe. Not Chat GPT is very mean. Let's see what we got. We got Goff, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Tony Pollard, Jameer Gibbs, Darren Waller, Rashad White, and Cortland Sutton. We've got Rodgers on the bench, probably going to find himself some time. Michael Thomas, Jameson Williams, Jordan Addison. Oh, Chris, Joe, this team's going to be good next year. If he's able to draft this exact team next year, I think it's going to be a little bit better. I think it's a little bit early for this team, Joe, when we've got Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Jameson Williams on the suspension, Jordan Addison. I like these guys all long term. I just don't love them for this year. I mean, do we want to be putting that type of emphasis on second year and rookie guys, giving them potentially valuable time in a redraft league? I don't think so. I think this team's a little bit better than what we just saw, but I'm going with pretender here. I can't imagine who he picked in his first 2 rounds. I mean, one of them had to be Garrett Wilson. I
Yeah.
couldn't guess who the second player was drafted in his top 2 picks.
Uh,
If you had
Pollard.
to guess, probably Pollard, I guess.
Yeah. Pollard than Wilson, probably.
Uh, yeah, I could. I mean, he must be like he must have picked 11th or something like that. We'll pull up the draft board. Um, but what are you seeing here? It's not for me. I got another pretender here.
I mean, he went very young, as you were saying, but where the heck is his team again?
Yeah, I mean, I like his upside. And could it pan out by the end of the year? Possibly. Yeah, there he is at 11. That's what I was guessing. Tony Pollard, then Wilson. I think Jameer Gibbs is fine. George Pickens.
Is Pickens, so he's like a really good talent, right? Like
Yeah,
is
he
that
is very good college guy. He appeared to be a Kenny Pickett favorite once they kind of got into a rhythm down the stretch. A lot of people are picking him to supplant Deontay Johnson as the top target out there in Pitt. I just feel like they're going to be running the ball a ton. Is there enough targets to go around to make George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Pat Fryermuth all relevant? I don't know if they're going to unleash Kenny Pickett in that way. So
yeah,
I'm a little
okay.
bit hesitant with this situation.
Yeah, and I don't know what George Pickens' numbers were last year. I don't remember him really lighting it up, but I don't know. I don't know much about him
No,
so
it
I
was
can't
it was
really.
mostly down the stretch. He struggled to get going, just as a lot of rookie wide receivers do. But he just seemed to develop a decent little rapport with Kenny Pickett as the season wore on, which was nice. Still is a decent showing, 166 fantasy points last year. Um, I don't know. What do you got? I got Pretender here.
Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you, unfortunately. I do like a few of the guys on his team, but as a whole, I don't know if it's gonna have what it takes.
I mean, the upside here is that it kind of hangs on, kind of flirts with 500 by week 6. We start to see some development out of Jordan Addison. Jameson Williams comes back and is fine. Aaron Rodgers, establishes himself as the QB1 on this team. He'll put together that Rodgers and Wilson stack, which could be nice. Tony Pollard just getting all the carries. Rashad White not facing any competition. Um, and if things have gone well for this team, it means that the young guys are clicking and this team could be dangerous come playoff time. I just think getting to the playoffs is going to be an uphill battle for this squad.
Well, he's got a tough first week, I'll tell you that right now. Right?
The lowly charcuterie boards. Uh, but I mean, he's projected to score the least amount of points in week 1 by quite a little bit, which is not where you want to be. They said there was another team worse than his, according to Chat GPT. I'm looking forward to that Hurt So Good team.
Oh, that
Um,
was the best.
let's go to Dan DeLove's fantasy here. Oh, Matt, I like him already.
There you
A
go.
solid C from Chat GPT. We've got Tua, Chris Olave, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Kyle Pitts, Jahan Dotson, and Isaiah Pacheco. We got JSN on the bench. Nico Collins, who I like. He's a great sleeper pick. If you've got any more drafts coming up, Joe, keep that in mind. He's got Deshaun Watson and Deion Jackson as well. So, Joe, I say this is one of the deeper teams that we've seen so far. I like this team, man. This is a
Yeah.
lot of guys that I would take. Looks like he got a fair amount of decent value because I'm looking at Tua, Olave, DJ Moore, McCaffrey, Mixon, and even put JSN as potential like top 6 round guys. Deshaun Watson, you could probably throw in there as well. I think Deion Jackson's going to give you some production before JT comes back. I like this team, man. If Kyle Pitts can take off, we could be looking at a legit contender here for the title.
I agree with that. Tua makes me a little nervous staying healthy. I don't know if his mashed potato brains is gonna last very long, but I mean, if Deshaun can do what he has done before in this league, I think that's a nice plug in there. Um, yeah, I mean I do like this team. How did we
Yeah,
let him draft this team?
yeah, it's gonna stink that he's got a guy like Deshaun Watson or Tua sitting on the bench for a good amount of time, because you only can start one quarterback in this league. Nice to have that second option if the opportunity arises. But I really do like this team. I mean, this is going to be as good an RB duo as we're going to find. I do like Mixon. I think he's going to get a fair amount of touches this year. Chris Olave and DJ Moore. I think these are massive big play guys with upside.
Yeah,
I like this team. I think Pacheco is just going to be solid. He's not going to kill you any particular week. And Jahan Dotson, a lot of love coming out of Washington for him.
yeah, I think I don't love Terry McLaurin anymore, and I think this guy might be the guy now. So
Yeah,
well,
it's a good point. A lot of people falling out of love with Terry McLaurin. And listen, Sam Howell's throwing him the ball. They might as well have Joe Sabag throwing him the
well,
football.
I mean, I'll get the arm loosened up if you need it.
I've seen you throw a spiral or lack thereof. So as long as they can catch what looks like a field goal kick, they'd be just fine.
I said I played tight end, all right? I wasn't QB.
You were the receiver, not the quarterback. Got it. So are we both going contender there?
Yeah, I like that team. Man, he's
Okay.
a good team for sure.
Yeah, I think C was a tough grade there by Chat GPT. Nice squad though.
Yeah.
Wasted on Whipple Ave. Is Whipple Ave a location in Stoneham?
That was where we went to drink in the woods at a young age. So that's probably why he came up with that.
Wow.
One
That
of our buddies lived on Whipple Ave.
and then there was woods behind your buddy's house.
Bingo.
Oh man, that is there a better situation for high schoolers than woods?
And, I mean, it really isn't. No cop wants to go running in the woods after
I know.
kids. So,
Chasing kids that are faster than them through uncharted territory in
yeah,
somebody's backyard. Let's see how
exactly.
he drafts here. We've got Dan picking, we got Mahomes, Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, James Conner, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Cam Akers, and Juju. Guys on the bench, not overly deep here. Roshan Johnson, I think, is a nice little deep play out of Chicago. Devin Shane, I can't figure out the Miami running back situation. Sky Moore, I'm out on. I think he was a sexy little play last year. I don't see it coming to fruition this year either. Rashee Rice, I do kind of like out there in case someone's got to catch the ball. That being said, Chris, I love this team. This is your title favorite, my title favorite.
This is your title favorite.
Correct.
Oh man, you couldn't be saying that about a worse fantasy owner than this guy. So you like James Conner? I mean, I don't.
I love James Conner. I think there's just going to be no competition. They're going to run him into the ground, like a DeMarco Murray situation, Joe, if you can remember that from the Dallas days a
Oh
few years
yeah,
back. I
yeah.
think they're just going to run him into the ground, not going to sign him. All signs are pointing to hitting the reset button next year. So I think they give him everything, maybe give a look to a younger guy here and there to see if they've got anything. But I think they're just going to pound the ball with Connor. I'll give you $10 Venmo right now if you can tell me who's going to start at quarterback for the Cardinals this year.
Oof. We said I could play, right?
Correct.
Does Joe Sabag
Joe
have any?
Sabag is the correct answer.
I mean, I could
Go.
play for any of these teams apparently.
I think it's going to be this gentleman Dobbs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So just anybody who can turn around and hand the ball off to James Conner is going to fit the bill. So I do actually like James Conner a ton.
James Conner. Well, not last year. The year before was a touchdown machine, wasn't he?
I think it was last year as well, and the year
Oh, it was
before.
last year too.
Uh,
Oh,
two
okay.
years ago was a lot of Chase Edmonds. I think they split a little bit of time, but last year, yeah, he was fine last year, James Conner, and I think he's
On
going
the
to be
show.
fine this year.
Okay. And Miles Sanders, you like too?
Love Miles Sanders.
Really?
I think Carolina is going to stink,
Yeah.
but they do have a solid offensive line. I don't think they're going to let the rookie quarterback. They got Bryce Young, right? I don't think they're going to let him sling it because again, I'll give you $10 if you can name two wide receivers on the Panthers right now. Do you know who
Current,
their number one is?
current day. I mean, I know DJ Moore ain't there anymore. I'm thinking, who the heck could it be? I really have no idea.
Adam Thielen is probably going to be their number one.
Adam Thielen is my age.
Exactly. And your athletic ability.
Oof. Okay.
And the same tightness in your hamstrings.
He looks
Uh,
very toy. Very.
which is not good news for a guy who's going to be using his quick twitch muscles all that often. I want to see this guy's value. So he picks in the who was this? This was Whipple Ave.
Yeah.
Wow. So Mahomes at the end of the second, love that. He gets the ace with Jamar. Then Keenan Allen. Listen, any team with Keenan Allen is going to be high on my list. James Conner might have been a little bit of a reach, but I'm okay with it because he makes up with it with this 6th round Miles Sanders pick. I think if you swap those two guys, it looks
Yeah.
good. So I think it works out. The key is going to be Cam Akers. Can Cam Akers get the job done?
I mean, he ended off the year strong last year, but his start to the year was fucking atrocious. Oh, sorry.
That's
Was
okay.
freaking atrocious.
Yeah, it really was. And I just don't know what to expect from the Rams right now. You've got Cup likely to miss a little bit of time. You got Matthew Stafford, who just seems to be over football right now. A Swiss cheese offensive line. I mean, again, can you name two other wide receivers on the Rams right now?
Oof. Is Van Jefferson still there?
Yeah, so he's projected to be the number one if Cup misses a little bit of time.
That's it. I
And
don't
then
know anybody else.
that's good that you came up with that. Then they got Ben Skoranek and one of my favorite names, a rookie, Puka Nakua. Have you ever heard of him?
Wow, that's a good name.
I wish people would start calling me Puka.
All right. I'm gonna call you PPOP.
PPOV. I like this team here, Joe. I'm going title favorite in my opinion.
That is terrible to say about this owner.
Is he
I'm going,
is he gonna
you know
wear
what?
this crown too heavily that I've donned him as the title favorite?
I'm gonna go pretender and I'm sticking to it. But I'd also be saying that no matter what team he drafted. So
Oh, man, is he that? I mean, give me a college comparison. Kyle
think about
Lucier.
Think about me playing drinking games in
Oh,
college
oh no.
and the trash talking that came with it.
And the time wasting and
Yes.
I mean, it was
The
impossible to play.
aggravation. Yeah, all that. There you go.
We won more beer pong games out of forfeit than any other
That's right.
reason because people were sick of playing against us.
Hey, it kept us on the table, didn't
A win's a win. We
it?
hardly
That's it,
drank any
baby.
beer because people just turn away as soon as the game started. Oh man, those are
Most
the good
time
old
on the
days.
table. It's like time of possession in football. It's basically the same thing.
That was us staying on the table all night, sober as could be. All
Oh,
right, Joe, our 40 minutes is up. Let's take a quick break.
okay.
I'll give everyone in the league a chance to hit the like and subscribe button. Always
Love it.
helps us out. And we're going to get back to we left off with Whipple Ave. We'll
Yeah.
pick up with Dumpster Fire in just a few moments. Go get a drink. We'll be right back.
Love it.